Section 4, Mediterranean Civilizations. People, notice the map on the right, and you'll see the Kingdom of Israel. And then to the north of that, you'll see Phoenicia. And these are the two civilizations that we're going to be looking at now in this section. First, Phoenicia. Tyre was the major city in Phoenicia, located on the Mediterranean Sea. So the Phoenicians traded on this sea, and one of the things they discovered that really made them a lot of money was this purple dye that was found in snails. And since they were so heavily forested, the wood from these cedar trees became big exporting products for Phoenicia to sell all around the region. So Phoenicia became a great sea power. Goods from all over the Mediterranean came to the markets. Even animals came from Africa. Aside from trading, Phoenicia had great achievements. One of them, most importantly, was simplifying the alphabet. So writing became very important, and they knew that it had to be simplified to keep the records for trade. So a new alphabet was created. This new alphabet were a collection of letters that represent sounds. Sound familiar? Which made it easier for people to learn how to write. And if you look at this chart here to the left, and you can recognize a lot of these letters that we use today. If you notice, these letters were the basis of the language of Latin, which is the basis of all of the languages in our hemisphere. Now let's take a look at Israel, or as is known, the Israelites. A group of people settled south of Phoenicia on the shores of the Mediterranean called Hebrews, later known as Israelites. So you had two civilizations side by side. You had the Phoenicians to the north, and to the south you had the Israelites, or the Hebrews. The leader, Abraham, had led his people to the belief in one God, called monotheism. Notice that's an underlined term. Monotheism, unlike polytheism, monotheism is the belief in only one God. This is the basis of our religion in the northern hemisphere. The Israelites later settled in Canaan, but a famine, which is a time when there is no rain for an extended period, which means no food, which leads to starvation. So the Hebrews were forced to leave to go to Egypt. Please remember the word famine, it's underlined here. At first, the Israelites lived rich lives as merchants and government officials in Egypt. But later, they were enslaved when a mean Egyptian king grew jealous of their wealth. So along came Moses, and I know many of you might know the story of Moses, but the Bible tells us how Moses led the enslaved Jews out of Egypt, and in which time they crossed that Red Sea, and the Egyptians wandered the desert for about 40 years. The Israelites, wandered the desert for 40 years. While in the desert, Moses speaks to God through the burning bush and receives the 10 Commandments, which is the first code of laws for the Israelites to follow. Also, the 10 Commandments is the basis of 3 religions: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. So now the Israelites start to begin their civilization. King Saul was the first king of Israel who helped to control all of Canaan, the land where the Hebrews lived. The next king, David, who was his son, united the 12 Israelite tribes into a single nation, which the capital was called Jerusalem. Solomon, the son of David, inherited the kingdom and created a sea trade, which led them to wealth. Notice on the map, people, the extent. Israelite did decline, the nation, the civilization, because after the death of King David, the kingdom split into 2 kingdoms. The northern part, Israel, and the southern part, Judah, as pictured on this map. The Assyrians seized Israel and exiled the Israelites, meaning they told them they must leave their country to distant parts of the empire. So here is the beginning of this diaspora, or spreading, of the Hebrews throughout the region. They were thrown out by the Assyrians. The Chaldeans later conquered Judah, and the Judeans were also exiled. Please remember the term exiled. You see it underlined. Okay, the key ideas to remember. So what are the names of the Mediterranean empires? We have two of them, both of which are on the Mediterranean Sea. One is Phoenicia, the other is Israel. What are the achievements of Phoenicia? The Phoenicians simplified writing, created a new alphabet that was uniform or the same for all people. This way, records could be understood by all. The Phoenicians also grew wealthy from the trade of wood from cedar trees and the purple dye from snails. Why is the religion of Judaism important? Because monotheism, boys and girls, the first time the belief in one God was introduced. Okay, monotheism is important because it was the basis of the three main religions in the world: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. All three religions believe in only one God.